Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I'm audible. I'm visible. Yes, sir. Very good. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. So the agenda is Sikhs, then subsidiary alliance, then doctrine of lapse, thereafter judiciary, thereafter police, ICS. I hope to start economic history, but let's see. Nidhi, you will get it. SME just push the police article. She needs it urgently. I know what urgency, but Nidhi, yes, it will be pushed to you. So again, Asha, you need revision for that. Now, what we did yesterday, what we did yesterday, before we go into the Sikhs itself, was that we had covered the Carnatic wars yesterday and day before, which is Friday and Monday. Carnatic, Marathas, Bengal, we have done Mysore. And what is left now is the Sikhs. Now, when we talk about Carnatic, if you remember, I will give you the trick for all the wars today also. Carnatic, we discussed 3 wars, and it was all based on Anglo-French rivalry, Austrian War Secession, and the 7 Years' War. Marathas, if you remember, 3 wars again because of internal conflict, Raghunath Rao, and thereafter, perfect Nidhi, thereafter you have the concept of Raghunath Rao, then Raji Rao the first, or Raji Rao the second, and then all of them coming together and fighting. Then Bengal, we already know Plasi and Buxar. One is Sirajuddaulah, then Mir Jafar, Mir Qasim, and thereafter how Mir Qasim went to Shah Shuja, or what we call as Shah Alam II and Sujauddaulah. That trio is defeated, and you have the Treaty of Allahabad. And Mysore, there are 2 here, there are 4 here, wherein you had Hyder Ali, Tipu Sultan, wherein 2 are fought with Hyder Ali, inconclusive, and 2 are fought with Tipu Sultan. This is the most defeating one, Seringapatnam Treaty, and this one is to preemptively end Mysore and annex it so that there's no issue. So we are now left with the 2 Sikh wars, and as I said, you don't have to complicate your journey. I will tell you the trick to learn all the wars. You will be tested on that itself. Once we have covered economic history, I'm going to take previous questions tomorrow because 3 to 4 previous questions from this area deal with economic history. So we have to go through the whole deindustrialization, drain of wealth, and all. And today we do tricks, we practice it also. And once this section is over, we go into a new section which is called the consolidation of Raj. So very simply, 3 Carnatic, 3 Maratha, 2 Bengal, and 4 Mysore. I hope nobody has any issues generally. I have already told you Carnatic. There is Aix, I, Popa. Here I have discussed with you Purandar, Vadgaon, Salbai, and thereafter the Treaty of Basin. Then we've discussed Bengal. It is only one treaty, which is Treaty of Allahabad. Here you have Mad Man Seri. So the treaties have already been discussed. I will tell you the whole concept. Sikhs, we have to discuss now properly. And again, I'm telling you, just go through the written explanations I've given you. and the summary will automatically come to you. Now, writing written summary for all of them is not possible. As it is, when I was teaching you, I have given you multiple flowcharts. Please go through that, and the area which you think right now, you think it is extremely important, there's a lot you want to come take out of it. Not a lot of questions are coming from this area. So don't have to worry about that. We will discuss the way the questions can be asked. So if we are all clear about that, I want to talk about the Sikhs and start our discussion with regards to Anglo-Sikh War. Can we do that? Yes. I wanted to ask, is there battle between Maratha Confederacy and a treaty with No. Once he goes into the subsidiary alliance, there are multiple battles the British fights, but it's not a confederacy type battle. It's separate battles. Okay. Now, as I said, seek two, then we finish this expansion phase and we go into consolidation phase. Please understand this point. Course don't matter, cause and significance matters. Every battle, what happened, small things, stories don't matter. Cause and significance is what really matters. And in the larger story of history, this is not even what really matters, because we've not even covered 10% of our history. So please, as I said, Chaudhary Deshmukhi, I will teach you Mesak when we will discuss medieval. Right now, that there's no scope for that. But there are two taxes which the Marathas collect. Now, let's talk about the Sikhs. Let's talk about the Sikhs. There is Anglo-Burmese war also, that is optional level, and Afghan, both are optional level. Remember that. You don't have to worry about that too much, because that is basically optional level. Burmese war and Anglo, what we call as Afghan war. So don't get caught up into that also, because that is given in spectrum, but it is not of no purpose to you. Sikhs. Now, when we talk about the Sikhs, like the Marathas, there's an origin of Sikhism. Sikhism is a religion which developed in the 17th century, and it developed in the 17th century as an alternative to the two major religions which were already there. So because in the Punjab sector, which is the northwestern sector, there's a lot of movement, because that is the only way you can enter into India and exit India. There's a lot of conflict also between the two major religions, which is Hinduism and Islam. And therefore, there was a need for a middle path, and that is what Sikhism would argue, that very simply they were the middle path. They tried to reconcile the differences of both the communities, and that is what Guru Nanak wanted to do when he started this religion. Now, the 10 gurus, the story of who they are, what they did, what is their contribution, all of that is medieval India, wherein I will discuss with you Sikhism and Marathas, one whole module, 4-hour discussion I will have with you. In that, I will discuss each and every, what we call as contour, and every contribution. We'll also talk about how the Mughals went into a conflict with the Sikhs, the story of Har Rai, Har Kishan and Ram Rai, and what was the way in which Aurangzeb got involved. But one thing you should understand is that the last main guru, living guru, is Guru Gobind Singh. Is Guru Gobind Singh. Now, Guru Gobind Singh is called the last living guru for a very simple reason, which is that Guru Gobind Singh lost all of his sons to the battle with the Mughals. And there was a lot of conflict which the Sikhs had developed with the Mughals itself. Now, in a religion, if the guru dies, or if the main preceptor dies, there's a chance that that religion won't survive over a period of time. And therefore, Guru Gobind Singh, he did two very major things to Sikhism, which is relevant to us. What he did was that he made the Guru Granth Sahib, the Granth Sahib, as the eternal Guru. Basically, the Granth Sahib is the Guru itself. That is why you will see that in Gurdwaras, The Granth Sahib is actually seen as a personification of the Guru. So the book is waken up, the book is put to sleep. It is an institutionalized form of religion around the book itself. The Granth Sahib is the eternal Guru, and therefore nobody can kill the religion because the book is immortal. And the second most important thing which he did, for which we are very, very important related to, is called the Khalsa. Is the concept of Khalsa. Now, Khalsa basically is the wing within Guru Granth Sahib, or rather within Sikhism, which protects the Sikh religion itself. So understand this point, that this is a religion and this is a group or community within Sikhism. Think of it like that: if Sikhism is India, Khalsa is the Indian army, that it protects the Sikh religion itself, and therefore over a period of time, Sikhism evolved to be a religion which had a protective wing under it, which is the Khalsa, and you would basically initiate and become the protector of the Sikh religion through joining the Khalsa. There's a proper ceremony for that. That's called Amrit Chakna, which is that when you basically go through that ceremony, you have now become the Khalsa soldier, and now you are going to protect Sikhism till your dying breath itself. So Sikhism, its origin, and yes, the 5Ks comes through that itself. The concept of Sikhism as a religion and the need for Khalsa is something which you have to trust me, will be taught you very soon, is medieval India. Is medieval India. You just start with this concept that the Khalsa has been created so as to protect Sikhism. So as to protect Sikhism, and Sikhism can only be protected via the Khalsa itself. So are we clear with regards to this, which is Sikhism and Khalsa? Yes. Basic concept, a protective wing within Sikhism has developed, and that is Khalsa. Now, the problem within the Khalsa was that between 18th century and this period between 17th and 18th century, if you have a military setup within a religion, it starts to evolve and become more and more problematic. So what the Khalsa evolves into are called the missiles. Basically, 12 missiles were there. Think of missiles like the Maratha chiefs. So you had the Bhosles, the Gaikwads, the Sindhyas, and the what we call as the Holkars. Same way, you have 12 missiles, which are nothing but military brotherhoods, which basically are controlling all of Punjab or all of Sikh area. So all of the Sikh area could be divided into 12 different parts, and each is called the missile. So you had 12 missiles with different types of titles, such as the Aluwalia missile. So the problem is that missiles are good for that area, but there is a lot of internal competition amongst them. Internal competition amongst them, that which missile will basically dominate the other one. And if you have internal contradiction within a religion or an area, is it good for your politics? Is it good for the larger politics of that area? No, in no way the missiles basically are going to make Sikhism survive, because missiles are creating internal contradiction. So for the Sikhs to survive as a community, there was a need for bringing all the missiles together. Again, don't need to do a thesis over missiles or the Khalsa, something which we'll do separately, but you just need to understand that Guru Gobind Singh creates the Khalsa evolves to be missiles. That is a very standard thing, because if you have a whole military setup within your religion, it will start to develop groups, and those groups are basically missiles. That is the group concept, or groupism as you call it. Now, groups, the Sikhs in that regard are now in a divided way weakening themselves. So very simply, there was a need for a person to manage it and solve it, and that person is going to rise from the missile itself, and that is a person called Ranjit Singh. You heard about his name, Ranjit Singh. Ranjit Singh was the part of these missiles, but he realized that he should make sure that all of them come together. Sikhs and Jats are different. That's an agricultural community. Sikhs and Jats are very, very different. Please. Okay. Yes, Nidhi. Yes. Okay. Now, Ranjit Singh, he will be called Maharaja Ranjit Singh very soon when he will start to break up, when he will start to break up the missiles. So, what Ranjit Singh does is he starts to consolidate power and missiles, and what he creates is a Punjab based Sikh state, and he becomes Maharaja Ranjit Singh, basically through the concept of what he is called as the policy of blood and iron. Policy of blood and iron, wherein he knew that he had to fight somewhere. He would have to basically, in a way, find a way to bring all the Sikhs together as one community. And in Sikh history, Maharaja Ranjit Singh is considered as a great consolidator. If he had not consolidated the whole sector itself, maybe the Sikhs would have become multiple states in that regard. And Ranjit Singh thereafter develops the second biggest army in India, which was also modern. And a very important thing which Ranjit Singh did, which was a very important game changing moment for the Sikhs itself, was Ranjit Singh went into an understanding with the English, because the English had now by this point of time started to reach the Punjab sector. He went into a concept of what is called the Treaty of Perpetual Friendship, or is also called Treaty of Amritsar. The first biggest army would be the Marathas. Punjabi and Sikhs, again, yes, Punjab. The people who live in Punjab are called Punjabis, and Sikhs is a religion. Now, you could be a Punjabi and not be a Sikh also. Now, under Treaty of Amritsar, what Ranjit Singh had decided was that the Satluj River, east of it would be Sikh territory, west of it would be English territory. Basically, this was seen as a border between the Sikhs and the English. And it is very clear that this allowed Ranjit Singh to develop a very powerful state. He was even able to expand into Jammu and Kashmir. He was able to take certain areas of Multan. He was going into Afghanistan sector. So he was very simply expanding at a rate in that sector, which was very, very important. So this allowed Sikhism to flourish. Ranjit Singh is a consolidator, and the Treaty of Perpetual Friendship allowed that consolidation to happen generally. Now, to be very honest, this is basically the backstory, which is from Khalsa to Misl to Ranjit Singh. Anybody has any issue in understanding this? This is not very difficult to understand. One man basically consolidates this whole sector and destroys the fragmentation within it. Under Ranjit Singh, the Sikhs were very, very powerful, and in that regard, they were very, very expansionary and had a good border with the English. Nobody wanted to change the status quo. Are we clear with regards to this? Again, Gib, I think Sikhs ask their God as Khalsa. Don't do, if you don't know it, don't think. But that is not true. Forget about it. Sikhism, I will tell you when we'll talk about medieval India. Very simply, there are two things which you need to understand. Khalsa develops as a wing which protects the Sikh community. Khalsa evolves into certain groups. They're called missiles. So the people who are saying not clear missile is just certain groups developing within the Khalsa and then pulling away and having internal competition. And the Treaty of Perpetual Friendship is a treaty between the British and the Sikhs under Ranjit Singh, that we will not cross the Satluj and that we will keep as a border between the Sikhs and the English. Where is Satluj River now? Where it has always been. Satluj River now is still Satluj River. Just Google it, you will get it. Can we talk about the Anglo-Sikh Wars? Yes, Ranjit Singh was able to unite the 12 missiles together. That is the basic point. Why Ranjit Singh does not want to fight with the English? Because he understands there's no point doing that. Rather, he can expand in the other areas. Can we go to the next discussion? This is all the basic backstory you need to know. You don't have to do a thesis on any one of them. What is the difference between Khalsa and other? I don't know what you mean by other. Khalsa is the wing which protects Sikhism. Okay. Now, no, it is west of that sector, but it is west of that this river. If you are west of it, then you will be in Sikh territory. East of it, you will be in English territory. The river west and east. Okay. 1805 Treaty of Amritsar, you will get that detail. Don't worry. If you want to read this area, see. Punjab was a rebel state. Punjab was a rebel state. Sikh community united politically, culturally under Dal Khalsa. That is the way Khalsa protected the Sikh religion itself. Sikhs further got consolidated into missiles. Khalsa basically evolves to be missiles. And there were basically military brotherhoods with democratic setup. Democratic setup. And there were 12 missiles at this point of time, from the Aluwalias to the Fulkiyas. Don't have to learn this. Do not learn. Do not learn. The person who consolidated all of this was Ranjit Singh. And Ranjit Singh carved out an empire in central Punjab through the policy of blood and iron. In 1799, he will be appointed as the governor of Lahore by the ruler of Afghanistan, Zaman Khan. As Zaman Shah, he will then take that area also. In 1805, he conquered Jammu and Amritsar, and he went into the Treaty of Perpetual Friendship very soon. In 1805, he will get it. By 1809, he will get the Treaty of Perpetual Friendship or Treaty of Amritsar with the English. That will make the Satluj as the dividing line between the Sikh state and the English state. He built a very strong army, was the second biggest army in Asia at this point of time. He set up what are called foundries of cannons and guns in and around Lahore, and he was using the Muslim gunmen, which were the strength of the Mughal Empire, and therefore he was developing a very strong state. So, very simply, what is the policy of blood and iron? Blood and iron means that either we will fight, which is iron, or blood. That basically there will be bloodshed and there will be force which will be needed to do it. The map is showing that now area of Sikh falls in Pakistan as the Treaty of Perpetual Friendship, because there was no Pakistan at this point of time. All of Pakistan is India only at this point of time. I hope when I say Indian subcontinent, you understand that Indian subcontinent includes parts of Afghanistan, Pakistan. Pakistan as it is does not exist before 1947. So please, I beg you, this much geographical understanding should be there. So it should not come as a shock that there is no Pakistan and things are in Pakistan. Obviously, things are in Pakistan because there is no Pakistan before 1947. Partition will happen in 1947, then Pakistan will be created. So, what is policy of blood and iron? Again, listen to me. Blood and iron is a way of saying that we will use force and there will be bloodshed to capture. I don't care what he did under blood and iron. Really don't care. Because the story starts after this point, not before it. concept of Pakistan doesn't matter. Pakistan comes into existence in 1947. We'll have that conversation also, communalism. If you allow me to move forward, then I can talk about Pakistan also very soon. So can I move forward and we can come out of this? Okay. Now, how did the Sikhs then get involved with the English? If there was such a strong border, when it was a border which was stable, and if there's a treaty of perpetual friendship and everything is sorted, then how is that things got out of hand? And that will happen after Ranjit Singh will die. When Ranjit Singh dies, now our story starts. Sikhs were very divided, very ambitious in the way that the general within the Sikh communities were not very loyal to Ranjit Singh's successors, and everybody wanted to be the Maharaja. And therefore, the first son in after 1839, the first son of Ranjit Singh, his name Khadak Singh. Khadak Singh will be killed by one of the military generals because he wanted to be the next Maharaja. Then his next son is Naunihal Singh. Naunihal Singh. And he will also be killed by a general vis-a-vis over the war of succession. Thereafter, he will have another son called Sher Singh. And Sher Singh will also be killed. And finally, the only son who was able to survive was a person called Dilip Singh. Dilip Singh is a 5-year-old child, and therefore, obviously, he was never going to rule on his own. And he will have Rani Jindan as her regent, as his regent, which is she used to rule in the name. And he has a wazir. His name is Hira Singh. His name is Hira Singh. So, wazir means prime minister. Now, you can see one thing that after Ranjit Singh, the Sikhs have started to go into a proper spiral of their military generals. The missiles he had brought together, now they were trying to basically take back power. And this is a very dangerous recipe, or a recipe which we've already seen previously. I think you can understand something. You don't remember Khadak Singh, Naunihal, Sher. You just remember Dilip Singh. Remember nothing. I will tell you what to remember. Why are you so scared of remembering something? First, listen. I will tell you what to remember. First things first, you understand what is happening in internal politics of the British. Every class I'm discussing the same thing. Do you have to remember? If you don't have to remember, I will tell you what you have to remember or not. Pay concentration, because then when I'll move 10 minutes forward, then you'll ask me who was Naunihal Singh. So Khadak Singh, Naunihal Singh, Sher Singh are the sons of Ranjit Singh, and there is a lot of internal conflict between the internal military generals and the sons of Ranjit Singh. So in a way, now nobody likes the sons of Ranjit Singh. They want power back. Do we understand this concept that Dilip Singh is a 5-year-old child and Rani Jindan and Hira Singh are ruling basically in the name of Dilip Singh? Yes, we do. Now, the British by 1840 have captured more or less everything in India. By 1840, they have Marathas, they have the Mysore sector, they have the Carnatic sector, and they also have the what we call as Bengal sector. And by 1840, they have actually become, yes, why for Ranjit Singh? By this point of time, he's actually the British have expanded quite a lot. But the Sikhs still await them. The Sikh area, the Punjab sector still awaits them. And the problem with the Punjab area is very close to the Afghan sector. And Afghan sector is seen as a threat to the British because of the internal conflicts and internal politics of Afghans, and generally the threat which comes from that area. So now the British want a solution for the Sikhs. They did not do anything under Ranjit Singh because Ranjit Singh was very, very powerful. However, now the British see an opportunity. The British see an opportunity. You have Dilip Singh on one hand, along with that Rani Jindal, and you have the person called Hira Singh. Now, the point was that in every person you ask within the military, they wanted Hira Singh's position, which is Wazir. They said, what do you want to be? We want to be the Wazir. What do you want to be? We want to be the Wazir. Everybody wanted to be the Wazir at this point of time. And there will be two people who will emerge as very important. One is called Lal Singh and the other is called Teja Singh. Lal Singh and Teja Singh are two military generals who basically control close to half of the army together. Together, they control half of the Sikh army itself. Now the English approach Lal Singh and Teja Singh. English say to Lal Singh and Teja Singh, हमें पता लगा, we got to know that you want to be wazir. He says, कैसे पता चला? How did you know? You have read my mind. They said, no, we know that you want to be the wazir. Do one thing. Allow us to intervene in your politics and we will make you wazir. Standard thing, Raghunath Rao type system. And this is basically Lal Singh and Teja Singh are convinced by the British that it is in their interest to allow the English to enter the Sikh sector. And what is going to happen is, what was decided was that they were asked to breach the Treaty of Amritsar. See, understand one thing. If the British cross the Satluj, who is the first aggressor? Who's the first aggressor? It is English, because they have breached the Treaty of Amritsar. So therefore, military action from their part makes no sense because they're the first aggressor itself. So they want the Punjabis or the Sikhs to cross that border, so that once the Sikhs cross it under Dilip Singh, now the British would have a reason to very simply hound Dilip Singh and fight with the Sikhs. And this is what basically happens. Lal Singh and Teja Singh, now we're discussing the first Anglo-Sikh war. What they do is that they try to accept, or they try to convince Rani Jindal and Hira Singh that the British are making threatening noises. We need to mobilize and we need to be prepared. And what they will do is that they will reach the Satluj, and everybody is going to be more or less at this border prepared. But the English were never going to cross it. What Lal Singh will do is, he will cross with his regiment over the Satluj, saying that we can't wait forever. And this is what the English wanted. And as soon as Lal Singh crossed the river itself, he went to the side, and Teja Singh also crossed it and he went to the other side. And what was left was the core army of the Sikhs, which was of no match to the British because it was half of the army itself. And through the treachery of Lal Singh and Teja Singh, the first Anglo-Sikh war will be lost. Now I hope you understand that the pattern is the same everywhere. Everywhere there's that one person who is going to sell off India, be it Raghunath Rao, be it Baji Rao II, be it Teja Singh or Lal Singh, be it Jagat Seth, everywhere. One second. Everywhere it is going to be somebody who wanted power. And therefore, Anglo-Sikh is no different. Now here the names change, but the people are the same. All are hungry for power. And in the Anglo-Sikh war, what is going to happen is that the British will give a crushing defeat to the Sikhs. Sikhs will be defeated. Now the more interesting part starts after this point. When they are defeated, they sign what is called the Treaty of Lahore. Under the Treaty of Lahore, three provisions were there. First, 3 crore rupees should be transferred from the Sikhs to the British. As always, the British want money. Second clause was that Wazir will now be Lal Singh. This is what Lal Singh बचपन से यही चाहता था. He always wanted this to be. So now he is Wazir and he's Lal Singh. And third was that now the British will control the Sikh politics, and in a way, Dilip Singh goes under the protection of the English. And they will basically make a fool out of this child. He will be taken to England. He will be basically made a puppet in the hands of the British. Who to give? Sikhs will give to the British. Obviously, the Sikhs have lost, so the Sikhs will pay to the British. Now, why Lal Singh Teja Singh crossed? Because they were told to do that by the British. They needed to breach the Treaty of Amritsar, and the Sikhs had to be the aggressor. So Lal Singh Teja Singh crossed. Now, if you look at the politics right now, do you really think that the Sikhs would have had 3 crore rupees lying around to be given to the British at the Treaty of Lahore? No, nobody has that much amount lying around. So what happens is that when the Sikhs are not able to pay, the British, what they do is that they sell Kashmir and Jammu sector, which had been taken by Ranjit Singh, to a person called Gulab Singh. He was a local ruler. He was ready to pay some amount for the Jammu and Kashmir sector. But one more thing which the British took as a payment was the Kohinoor. Dilip Singh was made to sign a document under which, because this 3 crore was not paid, the British took the Kohinoor in return for not being able to pay the 3 crores. And as soon as Punjabis see that Jammu and Kashmir has been sold to Gulab Singh and the Kohinoor is going, they will rebel. And when they will rebel, they will again fight. And now an even more damning treaty will come, which is called the Treaty of Bhairoval. Treaty of Bhairoval. Treaty of Bhairoval is basically a treaty which is the last treaty which happens within the first Anglo-Sikh War. Lahore happens, they are not able to pay, so Treaty of Bhairoval happens. Under Bhairoval, now Rani Jindan is removed, and even the Wazir is removed. So imagine what would be going through the eyes of, or in the mind of, Lal Singh. Lal Singh betrayed his own people to become Wazir. But between 3 months, he was removed because the Sikhs had rebelled the second time. And under Treaty of Bhairoval, now an English officer will take care of the Sikh area with eight military chiefs around him. 8 military chiefs will be reporting to the English officer, and basically the English have already taken more or less all the control which they need for this area. However, as when it came to the Marathas, the second Anglo-Sikh war happened when the Sikhs got frustrated by the same way Kohinoor went to English. Yes, the reason why the English have the Kohinoor today is because of this first Anglo-Sikh war, Treaty of Lahore and Treaty of Bhairoval. Now, second Anglo-Sikh war happens because when the Sikhs got to get frustrated under the English, and a person called Mulraj, who was basically the governor of Multan, when he was removed by the English, he will kill the European officers, and now the Sikhs will again rise. The Sikhs will rise in rebellion. By this point of time, the patience of the English had already worn out, and the English will again defeat, and now they will annex whole of Sikh territory. And this ends our story of how the British captured India systematically through direct conquest. So just to repeat this story to you through the PPT, we already know that Ranjit Singh was very powerful. Now I'm revising with you. Please pay attention because I want to give you the trick so that you all are then can breathe at least. Because there's a lot of you who are hyperventilating over the fact that how can I remember so much? How will I remember so much? How can I do so much? This and that. So to calm down your nerves, I need to discuss that concept with you, and I have to discuss the trick with you. After that, you will become comfortable with this area. As it is, the stories don't matter, cause and significance matters. Significance of all of them is the same. One by one, India is falling pin by pin. It's basically like they are shooting all of the enemies one by one. So what I want is that you just concentrate for the next 5 minutes, read this whole story out with me, and then get the trick. And we can move to consolidation of the Raj rather than expansion. Can we do that? Still alive? I told you there are 2 modules, total 5 modules, which are like this. Can't help it. Have to go like this only. Okay. Now, again, Megha, that's a separate story altogether, which is that basically Nadir Shah took it, then MH5 Abdali then took it, then Ranjit Singh took it from the Afghans, and then Ranjit Singh had it, Dilip Singh had it. So that's a medieval story. The story of Kohinoor is like that it's basically taken by Nadir Shah, then it goes to MH5 Abdali. Abdali is then defeated by it comes to India, then he goes back, then Ranjit Singh gets it from the Afghans, and then he has it, and then Dilip Singh gives it to the British. Separate story altogether. Nobody is giving you back the Kohinoor. The English would have given it to you if they wanted to. So Rishi Sunak is not going to give us the Kohinoor. That's a lost story altogether. Now, I'm going to explain the 3 crore thing to you. Pay attention. Now, Ranjit Singh dies in 1839, followed by instability and rapid changes. Khadak Singh gone, Nonial Singh gone, Sher Singh gone. So who comes in the end is Dilip Singh. Dilip Singh, along with Rani Jindan and Hira Singh, will become Wazir. Selfish and corrupt leaders and officers were all around. And now this will basically lead to indiscipline in the army. The Sikhs saw all the moves which the British were doing across India between till 1845 as a threat to their aggression. But here, the reason for the British crossing, or rather the Sikhs crossing the river Satluj in 1845, was Lal Singh's treachery. And very simply, the Lal Singh treachery is going to lead to the first Anglo-Sikh war. Here, there will be 5 battles in which the British will defeat systematically all of them, because Lal Singh, who had 50,000 soldiers, was not fighting itself. So it was Lal Singh and Teja Singh who allowed the British to defeat the Sikhs in 5 different wars, one after the other. Thereafter, the British Lahore will fall into the hands of British in 1846, and the humiliating Treaty of Lahore will be signed. Under that, you have more than 1 crore rupees as indemnity. It is believed that the amount was between 1 to 3 crores. So more than 1 crores, what they took totally was actually close to 3 crore rupees. But in this treaty, it said the war indemnity or the war clause is more than 1 crores. They did not specify what was the exact amount. So we believe that between 1 to 3 crore rupees was transferred by the British in a way of war indemnity. Jalandhar, Doab, that whole fertile sector of Punjab went into the hands of the British itself, and the now resident is going to sit there. Wazir becomes Lal Singh, Rani Jindan is still there. Now, because the Sikhs were unable to pay this amount, Kashmir, including Jammu, will be sold to Gulab Singh by the company. Gulab Singh was a local ruler who had that money to basically give to the British, and there's an exchange of territory and money for Jammu and Kashmir. This is how the Sikhs will lose Jammu and Kashmir itself. And the Kohinoor was part of this deal to be basically be able to pay this amount to the British. Dalip Singh is made to sign that document forcefully, though the Sikhs never wanted to give Kohinoor generally. Thereafter, as soon as Kashmir is lost, the Sikhs will rise in rebellion, and you have the Treaty of Bhairavan. Rani Jindan will be removed. 8 Sikh chiefs, one British resident, is now going to basically govern this area. Permanent British army is gone. Permanent British army is now going to sit in Lahore. The Sikh army is gone. Jalandhar, Doab, Zamindari went to the British. They took Jalandhar, Doab. There's nothing to be understood there. They took Jalandhar Doab. Doab of Jalandhar is important because it's the most fertile area of Punjab. Thereafter, a second Anglo-Sikh war happens. Once Rani Jindal was sitting in Benares as a pensioner, Lahore Berwal had already humiliated the Sikhs too much. Dalhousie was in no mood to now hold these territories as subsidiary areas, rather annex them. So Mulraj is going to fight when he will refuse to give charge to the English as the governor. Revolt will happen. Multan will go in uprising. Dalhousie had now a reason to completely annex Punjab. And in three different areas, two indecisive, in one Sikh is going to win. But the last battle which will happen, the Sikhs will be defeated by Charles Napier, and the Sikhs will be chased out of this area. And very simply, very simply, this whole area will go under the British. The British will now, very simply, Dalhousie will be appreciated by the parliament that he had done a very good job to take this whole area. A buffer state had been created vis-a-vis the Afghans also. The Lawrence brothers will become a very important part of the administration along with Charles Manson. And the British had a frontier which was now having a natural border with the Hindu Kush and the Pamir Knot itself. And the threat of invasion from this area had been removed. Punjab was strategically very important for India, for the British to hold on to, so that they had a very active buffer between Delhi and the Afghan sector in that regard. And this is basically the story of the Anglo-Sikh wars. Are we clear? Because I want to now discuss the trick. Is it possible to get Kohinoor back in the context of these treaties? No, Rakisha, it is not that easy. Nobody is giving anything back. Rather than taking just Kohinoor, why not take the drain of wealth which has happened? That would be a much bigger amount than the Kohinoor. What will we do with the Kohinoor in that regard? So we have to have our priorities also set. Now, for the past 9 hours, for 3 days, I have been screaming on the top of my voice and explaining to you these wars. Now, there are two things which you need to know. First thing is, don't die over them. That I can't understand names, I don't understand the names, I don't understand the internal politics, really doesn't matter. What matters is the implication of the Marathas losing, the Mysore losing, the Sikh losing, the Bengal, and the Carnatic. Implication is the same only, except for Carnatic, where the French ceased to be a problem. Everywhere the implication is opposition to the British is gone, an alternative to the British is gone. Causes can be separate, but if you see, cause is also repetitive. It's a pattern, wherein Carnatic, it is either external causes or internal politics. Bengal, it is internal politics. Thereafter, Marathas, it is also internal politics. In Mysore, it is external French. And Sikh also, it is internal politics. So, did any kingdom win against the British? No. British systematically used to destroy. They used to wait and watch. So, I have now finally covered the direct conquest of India, part of the British. And I need to discuss subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse as policies of the British Raj in what is called indirect expansion. That is a very theoretical area. Finally, the factual part is over. Now, if I have your permission, I would like to give you the trick and then move on and discuss certain questions based on that trick, and thereafter move to subsidiary alliance. Causes and results of the war is important. Story nobody's really cared about. Okay. Divide and rule is what they've actually followed. Can we now talk? I want everybody's assertion. If you can't remember any of these stories, my basic request is going to be take interest and read the PPTs. You will remember the story for sure also. If you can go and sit in a random movie and remember the movie story scene by scene after only sitting there for 3.5 hours, my movie has gone on for 9 hours. The only difference is you're taking interest and you're not taking interest. So take interest and you will remember the stories, though I really don't care if you remember the stories or not. Because nobody is going to say, tell us how the first Anglo-Maratha war happened. That is not how questions are asked. Rather, they're asking questions, if they have to, more theoretical and factual. Now comes to the million-dollar question. What about the prelims questions? What about the prelims question? And a very standard question which can come is chronological order. Chronological order, which is which war happened when. And in that regard, you can also get war or treaty. Treaty you already know related to the war. It's about understanding the wars. Now, eyes open, ears open, listen to the trick. Can we talk about it? Yes. Nobody's distracted. Nobody's still thinking what I will do with the Kohinoor. Yes. Can I discuss this? Because this is very critical for a prelims question from this area. Now, the saving grace is that I will never ask you to remember this part, because it basically becomes too much to manage. What we have to know is that the starting year is important. End year doesn't matter, because chronological order is going to be when it started. Wherever it ended doesn't matter. Now, fortunately for us, there's a sequence wherein Carnatic, which is all three Carnatics happen in sequence. Obviously, first, second, and third will happen in this sequence only, right? First, second, and third. If not, it would have been called first, third, second. No, it is called first, second, and third. So, Carnatic is the first war which happens in India. Then it is Bengal, Plassey 1757 and 1764. So, Bengal. Now, the catch is here only, and then there's no issue. The catch is that first Mysore happens, and then first Maratha happens, and then everything is in sequence. So Mysore, Maratha, and then Mysore, Maratha, Sikh. So you have my, ma, and then SS. So in a way, the whole story becomes Carnatic, Bengal, Mysore, Maratha, and Sikh. If the question paper will ask you the sequence, you just have to check if the first Maratha and the first Mysore are in sequence or not. The only anomaly is here. There's no other anomaly. Carnatic 1, 2, 3, Bengal 1, 2, 1, 1, then 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 2. First, second, third, first, second, first, second, third, fourth, second, third, first, second. So if you can remember this, then you can answer any question, because all of them are in sequence. Carnatic, Bengal, Mysore, Maratha, Sikh. Remember this. I want to check if you can apply this or not. Carnatic, Bengal, Mysore, Maratha, ma, and then my, mama, SS. Now I'm giving you a second. Look at it. I want to check if you can remember it or not. And see, if you will say then, sir, how will we remember treaty? In that way, the whole sequence becomes I, Po, Pa, Allahabad. This is what? Mysore. First Mysore is what? Mad. And first Maratha is Salbai. Then it is standard. You have Mad, Man, Seri. There is no treaty in fourth. Thereafter, you have what we call as Basin. And then again, you have no treaty in third. And then you have Lahore and Bhairoval. And there is no treaty in the last. Purandar is not considered first. It would be Salbai, which is the last treaty in that strip. Purandar, Vadgaon, Salbai. So, if you remember Purandar, Vadgaon, Salbai, you can then again answer the question. You have Purandar, Vadgaon, Salbai, Basin. I'm giving you a minute. I want to test it. Look at the screen. Learn it right now. I'm going to do 2-3 questions with you. C, B, Bengal, Mysore, Maratha, Maratha, Sikh. When everyone's ready, you tell me. I'll basically ask you 3 questions in different ways to check. Treaties, as I told you, Aix-la-Chapelle, Pondicherry, Paris. Then Allahabad, Madras, Mangalore, Seringamapatnam, Salbai, Basin, Lahore, Bhairaval. That's it. Now, everyone's ready? Okay. Now you attempt this question and you just give me the code. You arrange the following. I'll go from 4 to 5 to 6 and you tell me which is the correct sequence. First, Tell me, what is the code? Four, two, three, one. First this, then this, then this, and then this. Now you see the magic? In this life, for sure, if you would have gone through the years, you would not be able to do it. So because UPSC is not asking you years, why get obsessed by it? So now I'll increase the difficulty. I'll add 5, and then I'll go into one question I'll take vis-a-vis treaties also, and then I'll finish this topic. I told you I have a solution for these things. Have to just go through the process with me. So that is the only thing. For every area where there's an issue, I have a solution for that. Okay. Okay. Take your time. I'm ready to wait. Take your time. What is emerging is 35142. Carnatic first, Plassey second, perfect. Third, Mysore, perfect, very good. This will be third. Then Maratha, very good. Then no. 1, 3, 4, 1, 4, 2. Yes. 2, 3. Mysore will be in sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 has to be in the end. Perfect. Clear? Yes. Now I'll just randomly put the treaties. Try to correlate. If you're not able to, not an issue. But treaties are not very difficult to understand. I, Po, Pa for Carnatic. This is in sequence. Mad, Man, Seri is for Mysore. Purandar, Vadgaon, Salbai, Basin. Puva, Saba. And Lahore and Bhairwal are here. That's it. So, Aipopa, Madman Seri, Puvasaba, Laba, and Allahabad is after the story of after the story of. If I had to, I'll just give you a taste of it. This would be Seri, this would be Basin, this would be Pondicherry, this would be no treaty because when they annex, there's no treaty. Plassey, there's no treaty. So I can only give you treaties which are happening in a certain way. Plassey has no treaty. Buxar has a treaty. Can I try that? Can I try that? Can you try to do it? Okay. Now, okay. 6. This will take you time, but it should be easy. Take your time. Give me the answer. Okay. What is emerging is 164352. I need to check that. This is first Carnatic. This is first Sikh. This is first Anglo Maratha. This is first, not first, madman. First Anglo Mysore. This is second Anglo Mysore. And this is second Pondicherry, Carnatic. So yes, 1643 Anglo Mysore, very good. 4, then first 3, perfect, very good. And then 5-2. 5 perfect, good, great, perfect, perfect. 164352. Now you tell me, were you capable of doing any of this previously? There's a catch, however, in this, because the treaties are in the end of the year or end of the battle. So this sequence may not work. But right now, for me, it is more about this association you can make. Because treaty is not in the beginning, it's in the end. So basically, there's a chance that this would not be the sequence also. But for me, this association is important. Simple point is, I have already told you that this is Alex de Chapelle Po Pa. This is Allahabad, no treaty here. Then Mad, and here you will have Salbai. Thereafter, Man Seri, no treaty here. Then Basin, no treaty here. Lahore and Bhairoval here, no treaty here. So treaty, don't worry, because most of the treaty you have to know the year because it will happen in the end of the. Second, there is no war, there is no treaty after Second Sikh War. Basically, at least you can associate and you can put them in sequence. Are we clear about that? Can I finally end this theme? Because I've been doing this for a very long time now and I want to move on now. But is this trick effective? Are you now capable of answering any questions? Since the Baja Farmu, this is the second trick I've taught you, and this should not be a problem for you generally. Okay. Do we have to learn the years of the treaties? In a way, Prerna, yes, because the problem is they will have in the end, and some of them are overlapping. So don't worry about that. First, learn what you are doing. Then you can learn the treaties years. Treaty, most probably it will be match the following. So it won't really matter if the year is there or not. Okay. Now we have finally covered the first painful part. And if you look at what I've been doing since the beginning, I started with the first building block, which is Mughal decline. Then I made the second building block, which is advent of Europeans. Thereafter, the next building block was the regional kingdoms. And after understanding these three building blocks, I started the next major building block, which is expansion of British Raj. Now I have discussed what are called direct war. Now there's an indirect way. And once I've covered these two, I will now go into the biggest chunk, which is called consolidation of the Raj. This is how we are progressing. From consolidation, we will go into economic policy, then we'll go into education policy, then we'll go into social reform, and then we'll go into resistance to the Raj. That will start with peasant and tribal, then it will go into 1857, and then we will go into the national movement. This part is what we've actually covered, the four basic building blocks. Now the British have shown their intention. They have expanded in India, but now we also need to know how were they doing it indirectly, because a large part of India was not captured directly but indirectly. And therein comes the policies of expansion, which we have to discuss now. And can I now transition to that, which is the policies of the Raj as a way of expansion? First three modules done. We are now moving away from that. Four modules are done. We are now moving away from that towards policies of the Raj. Now, before we start policies of the Raj, you need to remember one sequence. You have to remember one sequence that is basically the British officers who took care of India or took very bad care of India. Consolidation means to, how do you say consolidation? What is the meaning of consolidation? Is to consolidate, it's just to bring everything together, is to hold everything together. Now, combine is not the right word, but it's like when you study, you revise, when you consolidate through revision, to merge, bring everything together and strengthen in a way. Okay. Now, when it came to India, we already know about a bastard who's called Robert Clive. Robert Clive was the first governor of Bengal. He was rewarded by the court of directors for his task. However, the people who followed him are much more significant, wherein you have Warren Hastings, who was the second officer sent after Clive had messed up Bengal. And when Hastings was not able to find a properly solve the revenue problem, Cornwallis was sent, Lord Cornwallis. But I don't use the word lord because they are not lords, they are thugs, they are thieves. So I don't ever call anybody lord. I will call Linlithgow, Linlithgow, Wavell, Wavell, and Cornwallis, Cornwallis, because he doesn't deserve my respect. Thereafter, after Cornwallis, you have a person called Wellesley, and then a person called Bentinck, and for now you only have to remember till this point, which is called Dalhousie. Dalhousie. These are the first 6 officers which you need to know, because I'll be taking their name. Who is the first governor, governor general of India? That I will discuss with you, and I'll do acts, because there's a context for that which I will discuss with you separately. Right now, I don't want to go into who's the first governor general of Bengal, then governor general of India. What is the difference about that? That I will not do here. But these are all East India Company appointed, governor or governor generals, whatever you want to call them. Just that Cornwallis is very significant for land revenue settlement. Wellesley and Dalhousie are the ones which I will discuss with you. Wellesley is the perpetuator of what is called the subsidiary alliance, and Dalhousie is the perpetuator of what is called the doctrine of lapse. Bentinck is known in very fondly by Indians for abolition of sati, but we will discuss the context for that also. What is the context? For the next 5 to 6 classes, I just want you to remember this sequence. And you will ask me, how can I remember this sequence? If I have to, then you can make again acronyms. For example, Clive had a haste for corn, and he went with Wellesley to Bent Dalhousie. Dalhousie is a place in India. So you can make these type of acronyms wherein you have all the names. Clive had a haste. Haste means in a hurry. Had a corn, which is Cornwallis. He went with Wellesley to Bent, which is Teda, Bent Dalhousie. So you can remember it like this also. So the point is Dalhousie. You can write it. Okay, Dalhousie. Okay, very good. Love the fact that you remember Dalhousie spelling, because I don't care about what his spelling is, but sure. Dalhousie. Perfect. Okay. Now, you can have any acronym which works for you. That is totally your call. So are we clear with regards to these six people? If I take their name, you know the sequence, or at least you know who they are. Yes? Okay. Now, we have been discussing what is called as direct conquest, which is Marathas, Carnatic, Mysore, Sikhs, Bengal. But as a company, as an East India company, would you like direct conquest, or do you like the fact that you're going for direct conquest? No? Very good. But why? But why? Why would you not want direct conquest? Very good. Direct conquest means wars, and wars means money. Money means expenditure. So basically, the British have to spend quite a lot to fight in these areas. So the company was never very keen to go for direct conquest. So they developed a very interesting thing, which is called the indirect, slow but effective conquest strategy. And that is basically two policies which are not exclusive to each other, but it is called subsidiary alliance and doctrine of lapse. Now I am going to discuss what these things are, but for that we have to now go to India. Now you are in peninsular India. You're in peninsular India. Now pay attention. And we don't need to imagine, we've already seen that there are A, B, C, D, and E. There are 5 different rulers which rule peninsular India. Now, in a way, are they equally matched? Are they equally matched? A, B, C, D, E? In a way, they are. Because nobody has like a nuclear bomb. All of them have the same type of military equipment. In that way, military equipment wise, they have all the same. It can't be that A and B would have, for example, tanks, and C would be in the era of fighting with swords, because they're part and product of the Indian subcontinent. Their military technology would be at a certain level, which would be up down 50-60%, up down 10-15%, but would be equally matched. Because if it would not have been equally matched, now pay attention, then one of them would have consolidated everyone. It is the equal nature of the power of the Marathas, the Nizam, the Mysore sector, the whole sector, that they are basically interlocked. If anybody has a natural, what we call as advantage, it would not, even before the British had come, they would have consolidated. Am I making sense? That if there are 5 different powers, they would be equally matched in a way, because they are 5 different powers in that regard. If any one of them would have been very powerful, they would have obviously conquered the whole sector itself. So there is a little bit of up down, but more or less the same. Now, it's a balance of power. Yes, why not? Now, all of them have military disputes. All of them have military disputes, which is A is fighting with B, A is fighting with C, A is fighting with E is fighting with D, E is fighting with C is fighting with D, B is fighting with E, B is fighting with C, over random things. They are fighting with each other. This is a standard thing. Now, in this type of a situation, nobody is going to ever win. But now, military dispute means border dispute, like India, Pakistan. Now, the ruler of this area was one day sitting on his couch and watching television. Obviously, hypothetical situation, dramatization it is called. And he sees an ad. And the ad is, "Are you tired of military disputes?" The ruler says, "Yes." Are your rulers or neighboring rulers equally matched? He says, yes. Do you want a solution? He says, yes. So, we the British present to you subsidiary alliance. This subsidiary alliance will allow you to win over the next ruler. Just take this subsidiary alliance and forget everything. Basically, subsidiary alliance is a product. It's a service which the British provide, but this service has a cost which these rulers don't understand. Now, why am I saying it in this way? Because this is the desperation of our rulers. They just want to annihilate the other person. They want to destroy the other person. They are always in landed dispute. They are disunited. And that is why the concept of subsidiary alliance would work. The concept of subsidiary alliance would work. So we understand the product placement here, which is that we are tired of the politics. क्या आप परेशान हैं? हम परेशान. We are very tired. Are you really desperate for winning over the next person? Yes, we are. So now understand this product which is called the subsidiary alliance. Can I discuss that? Do you understand the context? Now, very good. Now, subsidiary alliance is very straightforward. I have a territory. I have a dispute with B. I have a dispute with D. I have a dispute with E. I have a dispute with D, E, A, B, C, D, everybody around me. I am the ruler A. Now, as soon as I go into subsidiary alliance with the British, the first thing which the British will ask me to do is that I had 5 contingents in what was my army. The British will say, remove your own army. Remove your own army. First thing is remove own army from service. And the second thing which they will do is that they will say, here you go, you wanted the latest iPhone, so now you have the British army placed into your area. So the second thing which they will do is the British will station its modern army in your territory. Now, as a ruler, I have certain preconditions. As a ruler, all maintenance charge, salaries, equipment cost, and day-to-day expenditure, basically ruler will pay. It's literally maintaining the army for the British. Further, at the darbar of that ruler, the British will appoint a person called the British resident. This was 3, 4. In the court of the ruler, a resident Britisher will be appointed to monitor everything. that is the army well fed? Are you giving them the right rice? Are you mixing too much water in the milk, or are you mixing too much water in the dal? Everything should be perfect. You are maintaining the best product in the world at this point of time, which is the British Army itself. Now come the two or three major provisions. The ruler has to remove any other European power from service. So if there was a French or a Dutch sitting in your court, remove them. And 6, the foreign policy of the ruler will be controlled by the resident or British. But the most dangerous clause of all, 7, if you are not able to pay the maintenance, or you are not able to maintain the army, penalty would be there, and that penalty was area could be annexed for the amount. Now you see how basically this is a termite. It's a literal termite. So what the British are basically doing are giving you their army, but in return, foreign policy, the right to have your court free of English influence, all is taken away. Now there are three implications of the subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance, firstly, by giving up your own army, no defense. And imagine Baji Rao II went into a subsidiary alliance with the British. How this would have impacted the policies of the Maratha politics. This is the subsidiary alliance which Baji Rao II went into. Implication means that what is the consequence? So giving up your own army, there's no defense. You are maintaining the British army at your own expense. So basically, the English can have a very large army in India, but at no cost at all. Are you understanding the implication of this? That the British can basically have a 1 lakh army, but they pay only 5,000 of them. Because the next all were basically being paid by the rulers. In a way, we paid for our own colonization. We literally paid for our own colonization. This is a very important strategy because see, The British wanted a very big army in India because by the time subsidiary alliance comes through, Napoleon, French, they were always a threat. So how can I make sure that the French threat is always under control? By always having an army which is basically under the English, but not under the English when it comes to expenditure wise. And the biggest point is, try to understand this point. No or most rulers never had the capacity to pay the army for long. So, through subsidiary alliance, the British ate up the territory slowly. Nidhi, that you will get later by end of the week. If you really understand how the British operated in India, it will disgust you. That were we so dumb that we gave the British India on a platter? This is why I say that we tend to say that the British were this, the British were that the British were this. But you see, were the British actually that smart? No, our rulers were foolish. The point is that we were never understanding what the British were actually doing. It's not that the British went and to every child in the village, they put a gun and said, colonizing, I'm here to colonize. We literally took India, brought it into pieces and gave it to the British and eat. You have removed your own army. If you don't like subsidiary alliance, you don't have your own army. So you can't fight. So most of the rulers, when they went into subsidiary alliance, over a period of time, they realized it's not working. But there's no army only. And very simply, you are giving the British the power to have a very big empire, very big army by maintaining for them itself. And through subsidiary alliance, every ruler except for the Nizam, more or less, every ruler very simply defaulted on the payment. And bit by bit, every ruler more or less lost their territory. If you want the list of rulers who actually went into this is the sequence. Hyderabad, Mysore, Tanjore, Awadh, Peshwa, Bhosle, Scindias, Jodhpur, Jaipur, Bharatpur. These are very big areas. Whole of Hyderabad was subsidiary alliance. Whole of Mysore, after them captured, they killed Tipu Sultan, they put it into subsidiary alliance. Tanjore was always under subsidiary alliance. Awadh went into subsidiary alliance. The whole of Marathas, one after the other, went into subsidiary alliance. Jodhpur, Jaipur, Bharatpur were the three biggest sectors in Rajasthan. It's not a joke. And what is even more interesting is that you didn't ask me one question. You have to remember this sequence. You didn't ask me one question, that what if B and A both take subsidiary alliance? What if B and A, and what if, for example, A, B, C, D, and E, out of them, A also takes it, D also takes it, B also takes it. Then what the British will do? Tell me. If three rulers take subsidiary alliance together, then what will happen? Bengal was conquered. What areas were conquered never went into subsidiary alliance? Yes. Because these people are controlling the foreign policy, the British were never dumb to make B and D, A and D, and A and B fight. What they will do is that because they're controlling foreign policy, they will make sure that these rulers never fight, because then the British army is fighting the British army. So A and D, the ruler said, I am very angry. The British resident said, Thandrak, there's no issue. You just stay silent. I will solve the problem. Because one resident is following the other resident is following the other resident. So in a way, these residents will sort out the issue and the ruler has no real say. This is a service which the British gave, but a service which literally is a simple termite. It will hollow your empire from within. They will not bring two territories together. That makes no sense because they are getting three payments. Why will they take one payment? Was there no ruler who could explain this to other rulers? And what is going to happen in the long run? Now, tell me one thing. I say to you, trust me, trust me. Do you trust me? 50% of you, 60% of you, half of you think he's saying it because he doesn't want us to learn. There's something behind that. There will be always a certain आशंका, dilemma कि ये नहीं पढ़ने को बोला. He's not done this, he's not done that, he's not done this, he's not done that. When you can't trust me in UPSC preparation, you think a ruler is going to go and say to that ruler, don't allow the British to come. He will say he has the service and he doesn't want us to take the service. I can say to you that don't buy this. I will say to you that aage kuan hai, that there's a well in front of you. Until unless you don't fall into it, you will never agree. This is the biggest point which happens in UPSC in any preparation. Until unless you don't do it yourself, you will not think about it. So if you think that a ruler will go and the Nizam will go and say to Tipu Sultan, see, the British are not good, don't take this service. He will say, ye na kyo bol raha hai? We Indians do that thing which we are told not to do. So he will say, how is that he has that service and he is telling me not to take it? Understand human nature. Understand human nature, you will automatically become more suspicious of that person. Because why is he saying that? मैंने भी ad देखा है. I have also seen that ad and it's a good ad. It's a good ad. So in India we don't have we if you look at and if you've been looking at any economic data, we according to our per capita income, houses over 2 crore and SUVs are selling like anything. So I will remain in EMI forever, but I will do conscription, what is called expenditure, which is not within my own capacity. But if I go and say to you, don't buy a car which is for 40 lakhs, your work will also be done by a 20 lakh car. Will you ever agree to me? बोलेगा जलता है. That is asking me to buy a smaller car. So standard. So you really think that this was ever going to work? It was never going to. There's no long-term vision. We are seeing our own India getting gobbled up by the British bit by bit. But they were so engrossed in their own politics that they never would have actually done any of this vis-a-vis understanding anything. So my basic suggestion to you is, think of it like home politics. You do it on a daily basis in your own house. In your own house with sibling politics, it's basically sibling politics. That I bought an iPhone, but I don't like the iPhone. And I want to give genuine advice to my brother that, see, the iPhone does not have a good battery. It is a useless phone. Don't buy it. So he will say, then why did you buy it? And now you're buying it and you don't want me to have an iPhone. This is the basic situation. It's standard human nature which is destroying India. And this is why I say to in every batch, in every class, the politicians today are doing it right now. Are you smart enough to actually not fall for it? In democratic India in 2023, people will come and say and divide and rule, and we are still getting divided and ruled over certain issue, over certain religion, over something. Disunity is something which we understand very well. That person is that person is that. We don't look at the people who are doing good work or bad work. If that was the case, then most of our MPs would not have had criminal cases against them, because then we would take that person on merit. But because we work with vote bank politics, we are still being divided. We're still being divided. So be it caste issues, be it religion, be it money, be it reservation, be it anything, we are still being divided. So somehow this is our human nature. So as I always have told you, the more the things change, they remain the same. So we have actually learned this from the British very well. We forgot a lot of things, but we remember this very well. कि हाँ भाई, divide होना है. That I will hate my neighbor if he is of a X, Y, Z anything identity. This is the problem. So don't think we are different today. So if my lecture is over, I would like to talk about doctrine of lapse and subsidiary alliance. First subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse, then I'll give you a break. Okay, now, so Nidhi, good question, but think of it like that. Now, when we talk about subsidiary alliance, the subsidiary alliance system was used by Wellesley. Remember, Wellesley subsidiary alliance, Dalhousie doctrine of lapse, DDWS. So you can remember it. People get confused. Wellesley introduced it into India, though it was technically a idea which was brought up by the court of directors, and even to some level, Duplex used it. Duplex was the first one to use it for the French. Wellesley made it more popular and very, very ubiquitous across the Indian subcontinent. So, what is the concept? It's very simple. The Indian ruler entering into subsidiary alliance with the British had to accept British forces within his territory, also agree to pay for them. The ruler would not then accept a British resident in the state. The ruler would not enter into any further alliance with any other power, and he would declare war against any other power cannot declare war without the permission of the British. The ruler would not employ any European other than the British, and if they were already being there, dismiss them. Further, in a case of conflict with other state, he would agree to the resolution decided by the British. The rulers would acknowledge the East India Company as the paramount power in India. And imagine this is a private company which is doing it, not a sovereign state. It's a private company. Imagine that Tata and for example the Jindal Group or any random Indian company would literally start to dictate politics in India, which they do, but more ubiquitously, which is more explicitly. But in return for the rulers accepting its condition, the company undertook to protect the state from external dangers and internal disorders. But this is the most dangerous thing. If the Indian rulers failed to make the payments for required by the alliance, then part of their territory would be taken away as penalty. And all of them took this house which they were never going to pay for, and bit by bit the EMI took all of their territory itself. Now, I want to discuss doctrine of lapse. Can I discuss that? Now, doctrine of lapse is a extension of the subsidiary alliance, but could also be applied independent of the subsidiary alliance. I'll give you 4 scenarios how British conquered India, and then we'll talk about it. So, what is doctrine of lapse? This is under Dalhousie. The correct spelling of Dalhousie. Okay. Doctrine of lapse. Now, doctrine of lapse said that if you are under British protection or domination or that is the point. Payal is saying, I don't understand how stupid these rulers are. There is mentioned that East India Company will be paramount power. They don't see how the British are conquering them. Well, hindsight 2020. British protection and domination or under subsidiary alliance. Now this rule will apply. If it came to succession, and the biggest if the ruler does not have a naturally born son, then the British had the right to conquer that territory and only give adopted heir or son private property of the ruler of the ruler. Ankush, fire away. Now, this means you would say that this the British came up amongst themselves. No, the British literally quoted in certain cases scriptures and the precedents in Indian politics to say it. Basically, in certain cases, they said that your own scriptures say it. The Puranas, the Vedas, and all these things say that the adopted son is not at the same position as the natural born son. That an adopted son cannot do certain tasks. So they said, "Humne to bola nahi. You already have written it in your scriptures." And in Punjab politics, in Afghan politics, in certain parts of India, there was also a rule that Indian rulers did not allow adopted son to take power. So Dalhousie, when it came up with this plan, there was precedence in India for doing this. And in a lot of cases in Punjab politics, Ranjit Singh also applied it in certain areas which were under him. So doctrine of lapse is a very straightforward concept that if you are under the British domination, if somehow you do not have, you can go on for centuries having son, then it's okay. But if you somehow don't have a son, then the British have the power to take the rule in their own hands. And if there is 1,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees which the owner, which the ruler has in his under his own account, then you can give it to the adopted son. Now imagine which ruler keeps everything as private property. That give me the palace papers that it is my palace. Give me the papers of the land which is under me. Rulers are egotistic. Everything which he sees is his. So they will never keep papers for anything. So basically, everything went into the hands of the English once the son was not born naturally. If queen have power to run the queen, then why not queen dynasty? Why doctrine of lapse? Shiva, again, innocent question. You really think that the British are trying to do good for India? Again, this point is that, yes, they have their queens. They want to rule India. So they will find any excuse to take the Indian territory. So if you are saying that if they can be ruled by king, you are expecting justice from them. Again, this is naivety, innocence. This is innocent saying, भाई वो तो अपनी daughters को allow करते हैं. Why didn't they allow our daughters to do it? Obviously, they will not do it. Because if they try to do it, are the British here to rule us through just power? Are they here to do? This is double standards, doglapan, whatever you want to call it. This is hypocrisy at its best when we talk about that. So again, this is your innocence saying that how can they do double standards? Yes, we can do double standards. They were by the time doctrine of lapse came through, colonization was already complete in a way. Now they will start to use it to take areas. And it's not that less territories under doctrine of lapse. See, this policy is attributed to Dalhousie, though he was not the originator, again came from the court of directors. And this doctrine was applied under his governor generalship quite a lot because a lot of questions came of accession or succession under Dalhousie. Now, under it, the concept is very simple, straightforward. That if you have an adopted son, he could be here to the foster father's private property, but not to the state. Foster father means stepfather. If it was for the paramount power, the British, to decide if they can give the state or annex it. Nonetheless, there was no clear-cut instance of an adopted son being deprived of the entire state itself, but the British still applied this concept itself. Now, what are the states which went into doctrine of lapse, or what are the areas which went into doctrine of lapse? Satara, Jaipur, Sambhalpur, Bhagat, Udaipur, Jhansi, Nagpur, Arcot, and Awadh, all areas. This is what is going to trigger. This is what is going to trigger the 1857 revolt. So there could be, I will, after giving you a break here, I will tell you there are two combinations. One combination is they could use both doctrine of lapse and subsidiary alliance. They could also just use subsidiary alliance, and they could just use they could use just doctrine of lapse. That I will give you. That sequence I will give you. But if you understand this, I want to now take a break, and when I come back, I want to give you the combinations in which India was captured, and then we move to consolidation and discuss the judiciary. Can we do that? Is doctrine of lapse and subsidiary alliance clear? You have to remember the sequence because they can be asked as a chronological question. Have not been asked, but you have to remember the sequence. Okay. Now it is what? It is 6:46. We come back at what? 6:55, 56, 7, 7, and we take the story forward. Yes? Done? Okay. We come back at 7 and we take the story forward. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So did doctrine of lapse affect all on all subsidiary alliances? No, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. Wait. There were four ways the British conquered India. Now pay attention. This is what a lot of you are asking me. This is the answer for that. The four ways are very interesting. See, the first would be direct conquest, war, annex, treaty, direct control. But what is the problem with this type of strategy? What is the problem with this type of strategy? The problem in this type of strategy is it is an expensive option, because wars are need money, so they don't want to use this. Now the second would be that you start with conflict, go into subsidiary alliance, and via subsidiary alliance, over default on payment, conquer the area bit by bit, systematically, which is you go into subsidiary alliance and the subsidiary alliance starts to work. You start to default on the payment, and you take small by in a small set by set, they take the area. Yes, Ritika, true. Now the third would be that you go into subsidiary alliance automatically, but the problem is that the ruler does not default and he is powerful enough. Now in this case they needed another story, which is put doctrine of lapse and wait for no son and then conquer. So you can see that doctrine of lapse is can be an extension of the subsidiary alliance. Can be an extension of the subsidiary alliance. If the subsidiary alliance is not working, it may be that now the doctrine of lapse will be used to wait for the no son to be born and then annex it. And the fourth way was straightforward. You accept English protection or are under domination. So you're not neither in subsidiary alliance, neither direct conquest. And then they applied doctrine of lapse on you. And then wait for no son. And then annex. So doctrine of lapse could be applied separately, but could be applied with subsidiary alliance. So it could be subsidiary alliance plus doctrine of lapse and doctrine of lapse generally. Annexation means to conquer. So first is you directly conquer. Second is this is for example Marathas, Sikhs, the Bengal sector. Second is that you go into a subsidiary alliance. You had a little bit of conflict. You go into an understanding. We will not fight. and we will go for subsidiary alliance. And then you default on payment, and then you start to systematically take away the area bit by bit. And third is subsidiary alliance, but the ruler is able to pay off. For example, the Nizam was able to pay off for a very long time. So then what you do is that you bring in the concept of doctrine of lapse, that you do, if you don't have a naturally born son, you will not be able to send it to your son. Basically, hereditary transfer of state will not happen. So they wait for no son and then say that now you have no son, you have no other option but to give it to the British. And there could also be an area which was dominated by the British, for example, Carnatic sector. In the Carnatic sector, the British dominated that area, then doctrine of lapse was applied, and then no son came, and then annexation happened. So Awadh is also a very good example of that. Awadh was never under subsidiary alliance properly, was never under the concept of proper domination also, but it accepted the British power. But then doctrine of lapse was applied and a clause under it which is misrule. So there are four ways in which they could conquer. Again, nobody is asking you this. I'm trying to explain you the ways the British could have done it. There could be a mix and match of this also. There could be a separate issue altogether. There could be a separate path itself. Every state was different. Every area was different. But these would be the four logical ways in which they actually could have went forward. So are we clear with regards to can they deny for doctrine of lapse or they do, but they can deny for doctrine of lapse. Do they or not? They can't deny, because if you deny, then as it is, the British will conquer. If you are getting a pension from the British, if you are getting something from the British, obviously you would have to then accept their power. So Rani Lakshmibai question is subsidiary. It's not basically, it's a subsidiary alliance which happened previously, and that was applied on her through doctrine of lapse, and then it went to the fact that her son was not accepted. Now, can I now finally end expansion and go into consolidation of British Raj? Can I do that? Individual story of states under doctrinal is not important. No, 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 no. Not even in optional, it is important. If you accept paramountcy or accept overlordship, you accept doctrine. Yes, yes. Now, under consolidation, we have judiciary, police, in which I am already sharing the article with you. 1 second. I'm just copying the links. For police, you will read my own article. I'm just going to push it to you. Copy, paste. You tell me if it is opening or not. Control V. So there's one link. This is the police article. And in the later stage, some of you are also asking, I will ask you to refer to this article later, which is the railways article. Railways article. These are two articles written by me whilst I was in my master's, and you can refer to it. For the police, we will not have any discussion. I want you to read the article straight. Then we'll discuss the ICS. These are two things which we have to discuss properly. Are you able to open the police article? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. So for the police, I expect you to go through it. Very important that way. Right? Okay. Sorted? Both are opening? Perfect. Sorted. Great. ICS I will discuss with you in class. These two I will discuss with you in class. Police, you have to refer to the article. Can we talk about now judiciary? Judiciary. Vast link is working. It is working. I had opened it myself. It is working. It can't be it is working for some of you. It is not working for some of you. What do you have to do with this article? Go through it once. It will give you basic understanding. As it is, there's no asking a question on the police straightforward. Okay. Now I want you to concentrate. Now I want you to concentrate. And the concentration will be on this. See, British came, expanded, but what is their main interest? Previous year questions, I have to cover economic history to cover that. For within this week, previous year questions will be done. I will satisfy you with enough previous year questions. Don't worry. So don't have to worry about that. First, cover the areas which you need to cover with me. The British came, they expanded. But what is their underlying interest? What is their underlying interest? Their interest is trade and money. At the end of the day, the East India Company still cares about these two things very straightforward. Now, you tell me one thing: if there is issue in law and order, then trade and money, would ever it flourish with multiple issues in law and order? No. If you for trade, for what we call as wealth generation, or for any form of commercial policies to flourish, you need very categorically stability. And in order to stabilize the empire, the British need to intervene. So if they do not intervene, they cannot create an order which is not based on law and order. So that is why when it came to consolidation, they intervened first in the judiciary, second in the police, and third in the ICS. Basically, these are the three major pillars of the British in India, and they have to make sure that these three pillars are proper, because you have expanded, but expansion will not make sense without stability. So the process of consolidation is very important, because consolidation allows for systematic looting of empire, a looting of the colony. If you have too much instability, if you loot something from me and then a thug or a dacoit loots you, what's the point? If the British want to expand trade, and if trade is not basically going into the interiors, there are too many problems, then it will not work. And that is why the first thing which they went into is justice system. Because in trade, there will always be dispute. And for dispute redressal, they needed a system. And that is what is the judicial mechanism. Now, pre 1765, can I discuss what was the Mughal system in a way, or what was the prevailing system in that regard? Can we discuss that? Yes. So the prevailing system in pre 1765, and I will give you here 4 flow charts. They're in my book also, but if I'll give you these 4 flow charts, and by these 4 flow charts, you will automatically understand the judicial system. So don't have to worry about the text, because it's very hard to understand in textual way, which is the reason why judiciary is very confusingly written in the books in that regard. So in pre 1756, you have 2 jurisdictions which exist, which is there till today. One is called criminal, the other one is called civil. Civil is basically land dispute, trade dispute. Wherever there is no injury, it is a civil dispute. Land dispute, marriages, etc., are called civil dispute. Civil dispute is wherever there is no injury. Wherever there is injury and harm, it becomes criminal. It becomes criminal. So criminal would be if I murder somebody, you are harming my interest vis-a-vis economic interest. So 420, you can be a murderer, you could do anything. Basically, criminal and civil are the 2 ways in which you divide justice in India, and throughout the world, that is the way it is divided and decided. Now, if you were in Mughal India, if there was a criminal jurisdiction, in the rural and urban areas, you would have different people. Rural and urban areas, you would have different people, which is urban, you would go to a kotwal, and he would sit what is called the kotwali chabutra. He would sit and sort out everything with you, and basically is the police officer in a way, who also has judicial powers. In rural India, you would have a very important person called the Faujdar, or what is called the Faujdari Adalat. Faujdari Adalat. So here, the Faujdar, who's basically a military officer, it's called the Faujdar itself, is an administrative military officer. He basically could have 2-3 villages under him, and he will sort out the issue for you in rural India. So this is how criminal administration is divided. And civil, you will very simply, in rural or be it in urban, both places you would have what is called a Qazi or a Maulvi. These are the judicial officers which are appointed for different aspects of the concept of justice at the rural level or at the urban level when it comes to civil. I'll show you a glimpse of how this has been given, because some of you may want to revise later. And exactly the same way I've discussed it in the book, I'll show it to you. See, on page 476, you can see these are the tables which have been made. So you have 4.56, 4.57. This whole page is just flowcharts. So this is all judiciary for you. This is all judiciary for you. And you can see it says criminal, civil, rural, urban, Kotwal, Faujdari Adalat, Zamindar and Qazi Pandits. This is my own book, not which book, my own book. So this is why I've tried to basically tried to simplify certain things for you which you will not find anywhere else. So here you would have Qazi Maulvi. Sometimes you will also have Zamindars, and sometimes if it's a Hindu issue, Pandits getting involved. So in rural and in urban, there are multiple issues. This is not a book provided by Byju's. It is between you and me. Just recently published. Totally you and me. There's no intermediary here. So the flowcharts, Ramya, I'm giving you here also. So don't worry about that. I'm giving it to you here also. But for purpose of continuity, it is there also. If you're asking for the link, you can just find it on Amazon, send it the link here. I'll send it to make it public or make it for everybody. You just send me the link from Amazon. So one thing is very clear. There are overlapping jurisdictions. And there are multiplicity of people. So you have the Kotwal, Faujdar, Qazi, Maulvi, Zamindar, Pandit, multiple. So in a way, there are problems when it comes to some of you may send it. I hope it is the link of my book only. Let me check once. It opens this book only, right? Rohit Sabir. This one. Orange color. Okay. Because it's not opening on my system. Okay. So very simply, criminal or civil, because I could be then promoting someone else's book. Criminal or civil. The point is urban, rural, urban, anything, civil or criminal. You have multiple people. Now there's one more peculiarity. Can we now concentrate here? There's one more peculiarity. Can I discuss that? Now, the peculiarity here is there's no consistency. See, what makes law is consistency. That if you murder, you get 1 year. I murder, I get 11 years. That can't be. What makes law is consistency. It's about precedence. It's about consistency. Sabir, you can. I've already made 2 of them. The third also you can do. Now, what I mean by it is you commit an offense, and then I commit an offense. We should get the same exact what we call as punishment. Yes or no? Under the rule of law, under equality before law, there should be no division. And what the IPC is, what law is about consistency. And same exact consequence for the same thing. Now, in the Mughal system, that is not true. Because if you go to a Pandit and say that I did something bad, he will say, feed 100 Brahmins and your sin will be washed. You go to a Qazi and he will say, donate this much amount to the mosque and it will be solved. Faujdar, ancient, medieval, modern, all three in one book, not world. Now, Faujdar, he's in a good mood today. You said I stabbed a person. Koi baat nahi. 2 years. He's fought at home, comes, and now you say I stabbed a person. 6 years. The point is this system is inconsistent. It is on the whims and fancies of the Kotwal, it is the whims and fancies of the Faujdar, the Qazi, the Maulvi, Zamindar, and Pandit. It could be eye for an eye also. That he cut my hand, so you cut his hand. Eye for an eye. Yashika, pay attention. There is nothing very out of the box here. This is the Mughal system, wherein you have urban Kotwal, rural Faujdar, and civil matters. You have Qazi, Maulvi, Zamindar, Pandit all involved. But the problem is there is overlapping jurisdiction. There is overlapping jurisdiction, and the problem over and above that is there is also the issue of what we call today as inconsistency. There are multiple jurisdictional issues and there is no consistency. Not everybody is going to give you the same exact thing. There's a very important documented, if any of you are interested, there's a very interesting article by a person called Lakshmi Subramanian. Lakshmi Subramanian wrote a article on a case which happened in Surat, wherein there was a marriage. Pay attention. There was a marriage which happened, and jewelry got missing. Basically, there's a marriage in this period itself, this 1800, 1830. There was a marriage which happened, and the jewelry went missing. So, as always, the basic suspects became the servants of the house. Now, the person whose marriage was happening, the father of the daughter, or daughter's father, or the person whose household this marriage was happening, was a very big banker. And he had given huge sums of money to the English. And the English had been very, very favorable to this person. Now, what happens is that this person, in process of interrogating the servants, which we do till today, they beat up the servants so much that out of the three, two die. Now, basically, this is murder. That you had no evidence against the servants, you have killed the servants. In the process of torturing them to say the truth, they had not done anything, they were innocent, they are killed. Now, you see how the British reacts to this type of position. This went into one of the courts which I will tell you about, which is called what we call as Nizamat Adalat, it was called. And now the British in a conundrum. They know that the Seth is at fault, but he should be, if you give him 5 or 6 years in jail, he will not help you in funding your trade in Surat. So there's a commercial interest which the British have, and they can't do something big to the Seth. So what the British do, and this is called the joke of jurisprudence. They say that this is outside the purview of the English law. Let's call the Pandit. He will decide what will be the sin because the Seth is a Hindu. And now the Pandit comes, says, what have you done? 2 people dead. He says, pay 10,000 rupees to the British. British are sitting behind me, and feed 1,000 Pandits. And this is the verdict which was given, and everybody, and now basically this was the judgment passed. It's all sin gone. The punishment for the Seth is feed 1,000 Pandits and give some money to the Britishers. This is called inconsistency, but how the British sometimes were in a very precarious position also. So they can talk about judiciary, they can talk about English jurisprudence, but they never applied it properly. But this trait they picked up from this period, which is the pre 1756 period, wherein they saw that they have to be flexible. I'm not going to repeat the story because I'm not going to repeat the story for you because it is confusing to you. A person dies, it should have been murder. The person would have got 7 to 6 years in jail. The British said, call a Pandit. He will give the judgment because we can't. It is a Hindu law issue, and therefore the Pandit gives 1,000 Brahmins to be fed and 10,000 rupees to the British. Now, if you're finding this confusing, I really don't care. Now, first things first. Are we clear with regards to the issues in the pre 1756 or 1765 system, which is the pre or the Mughal system itself? Yes, when it came to British interest and British jurisprudence, it was always about British interest. That is the point. Now, the problem was that this system won't work for long. And the English want a little bit of change. English want a little bit of change because they want to bring in consistency, which they don't do, but they have to bring it on paper. So now Warren Hastings in Calcutta develops a new system wherein he defines the courts properly and develops a very interesting tiered system. In civil matter, he has what is called the Sadar Diwani Adalat, under which he has a Diwani Adalat. And what was interesting about the Diwani Adalat itself, here a officer which was created by the British itself, district collector. This word कि collector बनना है, collector बनोगे, collector, district collector. This word literally means what it actually says. The British wanted money collectors in districts, so they were called district collector. It's an IS position now. It was also an ICS position previously, but the name itself is exactly the same as district collector. And under the district collector, he had, now this is the very interesting peculiarity about Warren Hastings. He had one Maulvi and he had one Pandit. In criminal jurisdiction, after 1773, there was one Supreme Court of Calcutta. Under it, he had the Nizamat Adalat and under the Nizamat Adalat, in this system, he would have a European officer, again presided over by Maulvi or Qazi, whatever you want to call him, both the same thing for me, and Pandit. Now, understand this point, what he's done. Hastings was an Orientalist. I will be very slowly but surely by Friday discussing this concept with you. What is an Orientalist and a utilitarian, which is the ideologies of the Raj. But he basically has this concept that let's not change too much. Let's not change too much because that could be dangerous in India. Rather, let's do one thing. We can use Muslim law when if there is a Muslim defendant or accused, and we can use Hindu law when there is a person who has come as a defendant as a Hindu. Now, according to him, if I had a dispute, for example, you and me fought over a land dispute. So what will we do? We will go into the Diwani Adalat. And when we will go to the Diwani Adalat, the district collector will be sitting in between. In the middle, you will have the district collector. And in the district collector sitting in the middle, you had a Maulvi Qazi and you had a Pandit on the right and left. Now the district collector will ask you, what religion are you? And what is the religion of the other defendant? So they will say both are Hindus. So the Maulvi will get up and go out. If both are, one is Hindu Muslim, both will sit. If both are Muslim, Maulvi will sit and Pandit will go out. Here, by chance, both were Hindu. So the Maulvi says, it is not my jurisdiction. Hindu law will be applied on this. Now the district collector will listen to the whole story and he will say, please, the Pandit, tell me what should be under Hindu law the punishment for this. Or what should be the way to redress this mechanism. Same will happen that I murdered you and your family takes me to the Nizamat Adalat. When we go to the Nizamat Adalat, same thing will happen. European officer will be sitting in the middle, Maulvi and Pandit. If both are Hindu, only the Maulvi will get up. If both are Muslim, then Pandit will get up. If one is Hindu, one is Muslim, both will sit. Now again, they will listen to the whole story. And then the Nizamat Adalat European officer will say, I understand the case, it is severe. Pandit, tell me what is the punishment under Hindu law. Maulvi, tell me what is the punishment under Muslim law. Now, if you like the judgments, it's okay. If you don't like the judgment, you can go up one step further, which is to the Sadar level. Sadar means above district level. So you have district, you have Sadar, and then you have province. So basically, it's like a intermediate level between state and district. Now, this is the system which Hastings puts in. But if you look at it, it's flawed. Because, okay, you mean higher level. Yes, second tier court. Now, if you look at it, there's a problem. See, in Islam, there is Shariat or Sharia. Sharia is the holy law of Islam, wherein they interpret the Quran, and Maulvis and the Qazis interpret and talk about certain way of life, and that is called Sharia. Shariat is actually a proper law system within Islam. And there are certain judgments which they used to give previously also. Now tell me, what is the law book of Hinduism? Or which is the law book of Hinduism? There is no one book. You could have the Gita, you could have the Ramayana, you could have the Mahabharata, you could have the Manusmriti, you could have the Dharma Shastra, you could have the different texts which came later. You could have, for example, the Mitakshara system. You could literally have hundreds of books which could be quoted. And you tell me one thing, after interacting with in your whatever life you have had, are Pandits really capable of giving judgments? Are Pandits really capable of giving judgments? No. And they are Pandits. They understand the scripture. They can do mantra and all. But if you will make them sit and ask him, what is the rule? He doesn't know which book to refer. But if you refer to the Gita, everything is justified. If you go to the Dharma Shastra, something else it will say. There are multiple scriptures in India. So imagine how that person would have felt to look at that Pandit who was basically doing puja in a temple, and now he's telling you what is the judgment on a criminal case. So basically what Warren Hastings has is called a intrinsic faith in local religious intermediaries. See, the point is that in India, this is not how law worked. He has a very warped up notion of the fact that there is something called Hindu law. And that is why one of his officers, his name was Colebrook. He wrote a text which was basically a made up text, which is called the Gentoo Law of India. The Gentoo Law of India. But Gentoo means Hindu. Gentoo Law of India. You'll find this book online also. He was not able to say Hindu, so he made it Gentoo. The point is that this is also a made up book. The Maulvi is capable. The Qazi and Maulvi are capable because they were always judicial officers within the whole system of Mughal administration or Delhi Sultanate administration. The point is that there is no such position within Hinduism. So the Gentoo Law of India book which he made was also just a made up book. Was a made up book. He just brought in certain texts. And if you go by any of the Manusmriti or any form of religious scripture in India, what is the judgment they will say? They will say, beat that person, eye for an eye, or certain sacrifice or ritual. So the problem is, see, Sateja, we today still follow Hindu and Muslim law, but that was codified under the British over a very long period of time. Under Warren Hastings, it's all made up system. And that too in what is called as Hindu law and Muslim law today, it is quite problematic. Because within Shariat, you have the Hadith tradition. You have multiple traditions which are there, which allow for interpretation. So never was Muslim law ever codified. The British have this very big obsession which is called codification. Codify. I want written down. Everything should be written down. But the Maulvi, the Qazi, the Pandit, whatever it may be, they had an open understanding of interpretation. That was taken away. This is called the rigidification of law itself in India. I don't want to have that discussion because that is above optional level. I'm going into academic level discussion with you. But the point is, this is the structure he produces. You have to remember the structure. Can you do that? Can you remember this structure? And though they will never be able to ask a question on the judiciary because it's a complicated matter, but will you be able to basically make this flowchart with basic explanation and the concept of intrinsic faith in the local religious intermediaries and the problem in this system? Because Cornwallis is going to very simply see this system and say, what were you doing in India? And he will change it. So I want to move to Lord Cornwallis's system and how he will change it. There are three changes which will happen under Warren Hastings, Cornwallis, and thereafter Bentinck. Can we go to Cornwallis? Are we clear with regards to the issues? Yes or no? See, this is why, if you will see, there is a lot to be studied in colonial India. There are multiple interesting aspects. Unfortunately, they are not relevant for UPSC. Law and colonialism and legal history, I have a whole specialization on that. If you will look at how English jurisprudence was applied, it is a joke. And when I will teach you Bhagat Singh, I will show you how Bhagat Singh pointed that out through his own trial, which is called the Lahore conspiracy case. So British were basically trying to figure it out what to do. And that is the basic point. Again, people tend to think that the British had a plan in India. They were basically experimenting as they were going on. Now, let's discuss what Cornwallis did. See, Cornwallis had no faith in intermediaries. He did not believe, like us, that the religious intermediaries are capable of legal judgment. So first thing which he did was he asked the Maulvi and the Pandit to go back from where they came. He was saying that I don't want any of you in the judicial system. You are just messing it up and anything you are saying. Now he also has a basic division, obviously, which is criminal and civil. Now, because the British were really interested in civil matters more than criminal, obviously, why would they be more interested in civil matters? Why would they be more interested in civil matters? Trade goes into civil matter. So they created a ceiling. Any dispute above 5,000 pounds, you straight away go to England, King in Council, and he will listen to you and give you judgment. So if it's above 5,000 pounds, you don't even have to be in India. You straight away go to London, go to the Crown and say, this is the dispute. They will take a call there. But under that, anything under 5,000 pounds as a dispute is that if it was a private body, who was the Crown here? If this was a private body, who was the Crown here? Crown is considered the fountain of legal power in British history. So he's the King of England, King in Council, King of England. I hope that you're understanding. London, India में नहीं है. This is British Crown. Now, under 5,000 pounds, the Sadar Diwani Adalat still stands. Under it, he now creates what are called till today, which are there, called circuit courts. Circuit courts. Basically, a district is further 2-3 districts together are called circuits, and multiple circuits are called Sadar in that regard. And under this, he has at district level 2 types of officers. One is registrar and the other is called munsif. If it's a European dispute, you go to registrar. If it's an Indian dispute, you go to munsif. So he's basically created 2 other systems for Europeans and the Indians. On the other hand, when it came to criminal, it was straightforward. You had the Supreme Court, the Sadar Nizamat Adalat, and under it, straightforward circuit courts and then district courts, the way it is till today. If I hope that you never have to see the judicial system of India ever, but if you get an unfortunate chance to become a part of any dispute, you will first go to a district court. If the district court judgment does not stand, maybe your city does not have a district court itself. You would have to go to a circuit court. If the circuit court does not stand, then you go to the Sadar Nizamat Adalat. Think of Sadar Nizamat as high courts. The equivalent of Sadar Nizamat Adalat would be high courts today. So basically, this is the system which we till today follow. Supreme Court, High Court, Circuit Court, District Courts, or what are called Sessions Court. Sessions Court. But this was having no interference with stock company. How can a British Crown give judgment to a private joint stock company? Well, anything and everything is happening. If there's a dispute, a private dispute could go to the British Crown also. So the question to how is that everything is possible. East India Company draws power from the charter. Charter means royal power. So royal power, royal jurisdiction. So yes, I said, but this is what the British did also. So very simply, Cornwallis system is more elaborate and more important. Now, last but not the least, Bentinck comes. Bentinck, he does not do anything to this system other than changing the circuit courts and putting the district collector there. So under Bentinck, he just wanted to remove one sessions court, or what we call as this circuit court, and under him it was a district collector who did it. Now bringing all three together, it's a very simple, straightforward concept. Let me make it in one slide. I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to do here. It's not very difficult. It's just I'm giving you the structures in which they basically operated. You only have to remember the structures. Which law was followed for judgment in Supreme Court? That is again British judgment at this point of time. IPC will be written in 1860-61. That's a separate issue altogether. Okay. You have Hastings. You have Cornwallis. And you have Bentinck. Hastings model is very simple. Criminal, You have Supreme Court, Nizamat Adalat, Civil, Sadar Diwani Adalat, Diwani Adalat. Under, how can they ask you a question? Shweta, most probably they aren't. But it is my job to teach you this because they can ask you how was the concept of judicial systems evolving. So you'll just make flowcharts and tell that this is the way it evolved, or what are the three systems. So sometimes not every topic you expect a question. This is for your understanding and important to know in that regard. Cornwallis. Cornwallis. Cornwallis system is much more complicated. Criminal, he creates 4 tiers. Supreme Court, you have Sadar Nizamat Adalat, you have session, not sessions, but circuit court, and there can be the district court. No, they'll not ask a question between difference between today and past. That much understanding the examiner does not also have. Because this is only a system till 1860. It will keep on evolving. It's an optional, it's not even optional level question. It would be an academic question. What is the evolution of legal systems? That much level I don't expect from the examiner of UPSC also. Civil. Now, civil is the more complicated one. King in council above 5,000 pounds. Sadar Diwani Adalat if less than 5,000 pounds. Then you have circuit courts. Then at the district level you have two, which is the registrar and munsif, which till today exists. If you will ever go to rural India, you will find a munsif sitting there. While if you go into urban, you would have to get a registrar certificate. Bentic, the only change is here replaced by district collector. Are we clear with regards to this system? Yes. Munshi is different, Munsif is different. Munshi is a clerk. Okay, this is ulta. Less than 5. Okay, now let's read this out from the PPT and then we will talk about the ICS and end our discussion for today. Police as it is you're reading. So in 1765, company got Diwani rights. Nawabi administration continued the practice of the Mughals. Subas under civil and criminal, but the problem is there is a lot of overlapping criminal and civil jurisdiction, and that is the problem. In every stage, there will be a registrar and munsif. Yes, I just write it down also. Munsif registrar is for Europeans, and this is for Indians. This is the difference between these two. Now, the features of this system is that Shariat could be interpreted and and basically what we call as applied by Qazis and Munsif or Muntashifs in that regard. Local Faujdars were also there. And the judicial system was extremely lax and driven by corruption. And there is a lot of overlapping jurisdiction in that regard. So very simply, the system is not efficient. So what the system Hastings introduces, and now you will realize that if I read it out to you, it will seem even more complex. Diwani Adalat, Nizamat Adalat. Hindu and Muslim law were used in criminal jurisdiction and justice, and Muslim or Hindu law was applied according to civil justice also. The topic could be divided into criminal law and civil law. Civil courts were presided over by European district collectors and Maulvis and Brahmin Pandits, and there you had the European officer itself. The criminal courts had the Qazi supervised by and Mufti plus a Pandit by a European collector or European officer itself. They could have a president plus two members also. So it could be three Europeans plus the two, but doesn't really matter. Sadar Nizamat Adalat was the final court in civil matters. And after 1773, the Supreme Court in Bengal was established, which will be the final authority when it comes to the concept of what we call as criminal jurisdiction. Now, Cornwallis did not like this system. Cornwallis wanted revenue and justice administration separate, and he wanted to establish the principle of sovereignty of law, that law should be more defined, and this concept of Pandit and Maulvi should not be there. And therefore, King in Council for appeals for 5,000 and above, Sadar Diwani at Calcutta, 4 circuit courts for appeal, district courts which would have registrar court for European judge, Munsif court with Indian officer. So again, he's created that same system in that regard. Now, Fauzdari Adalat functioning under Reza Khan was abolished, and office of and Naib Nazim. I'll talk about Reza Khan tomorrow, which is the dual administration. Courts of circuit headed by European courts were created in place of Fauzdari Adalat. Sadar Nizamat Adalat brought back Calcutta and placed under the supervision of Governor General. And Indians were excluded mostly or entirely out of the system. Now you see, my voice is the same. The point is that this is how it's written in the book. And if you actually try to interpret it, it is talking about a lot of things. So if you can remember this structure, your job is already done. Because in textual form, it becomes extremely hard to understand. And I hope you understand what I'm trying to do here. I'm giving you this basic structure so that if in the examination they ask you to explain the structure, you will be able to write basic things down. Are you understanding the purpose in that regard? The diagram is much easier than the text which is there in the books. And it will become very, very difficult to understand. As it is, I'm giving you a lot of this out of my own understanding and research, out of books which you will not go for UPSC, but basically out of academic level understanding. So even spectrum starts to mess these things up. So you have to be very clear that these structures matter. In this type of question, Simran, you can make the structures. Where they're talking about evolution of structures, you can talk about that. Not in all cases diagrams are possible, but here it is something which you can use for. Now, last discussion is Bentic. Bentic, the 4 circuit courts were abolished, given to the collector. Sadar Nizamat Adalat and Sadar Diwani Adalat were set up in Allahabad now. And English replaced the language Persian in the Supreme Court, which was previously there. Lower courts could use either Persian or vernacular language. And thereafter, Law Commission will be established under Macaulay. And Macaulay will then come up with the Civil Code of Procedure in 1859, the IPC in 1860, and CRPC in 1861. So therefore, by 1860-61, they had a proper IPC, CRPC, and civil procedure. This is where the judicial system starts to change. And the British start to realize that they need to be a little more certain. And the judiciary will start to become a little bit more certainty based, and the sovereignty of law will actually be established by 1860-61. Now, by 1860, it was said that Europeans can claim no special privileges in criminal cases. And in 1865, this is very important for you. In 1865, the Supreme Court remained, but the Sadar Adalats were merged to create 3 high courts: Calcutta, Bombay, Madras. So the Calcutta High Court, the Madras High Court, and the Bombay High Court, which exist today, they are having their origin in 1865. In 1865, these were made together. Basically, all this messed up system, they made high courts, and the Supreme Court was in a way sidelined. Later, the federal court will come, but later, 1935, and that will become the Supreme Court as we know it today. So we don't have to complicate it. You don't have to go into this much detail. Just simple, straightforward point. This is what you have to remember. If you can, I'll use the time left to discuss the ICS, and we can then consolidate everything for today. If you want a 5-minute breather, I'm ready to give you that also. Want a 5-minute breather? Because I understand it's heavy. Yes? Okay. So what is it? It's already 8, but you want a breather. Okay, we come back at 8:03, and I want half an hour your attention properly, because ICS is a little bit, again, little bit heavy. Just be, just concentrate. Can you do that? 8:03. Okay. Yes. Okay. 8:03. 30 minutes proper concentrated discussion. Okay, welcome back. Out of the shock of judiciary, can we talk about ICS? Okay, now this is what you want to become, an IS officer, Indian Administrative Service. But previously it was not called IAS, it was called ICS, Indian Civil Services. And the Indian police did not have an Indian police service. It's basically the police in that regard. And the IFS used to be called as Indian Political Services because they were interacting with the other rulers which were there. So it was called Indian Political Service, now which is called Indian Foreign Service. So the ICS till today and previously also they are the backbone of the administration of the British in India. Now the question was, why was there a need for an ICS? See, if you remember, East India companies used to send officers. East India companies used to send officers. For example, Robert Clive was one such officer. Now, when, for example, the looting of Bengal was happening, these officers started to do what is called private trade. Basically, they gave themselves the dastak itself. They gave themselves the dastak. Dastak given to themselves only. And what they used to do is that if they used to get 500 rupees in India, they used to buy 500 rupees of paper and then send it to London, and their family used to then sell it at 1500 rupees. And basically, they were able to convert their salary into commodity and then commodity into a lot of money. Now, if you are the court of directors of the East India Company, would you like to have private traders or your officers trading? Or your officers trading? No, because this is a leakage. What could have gone to the East India Company now is not going to the East India Company, rather to the private trader. This is how Robert Clive became a millionaire, by trading in India, by giving himself the dastak itself. So Cornwallis was sent to India with the mandate that we need to stop corruption. And we need to basically make the officers accountable and stop them from doing what they're doing. Yes, they were taking bribes also. They were taking lakhs of rupees from people. And they said, gift mila hai. We got a gift. मैंने तो मांगा ही नहीं था. I didn't ask for it. वो तो this poor Indian who I have harassed for the past 1 year, he gave me 1 lakh rupees. What can I say? So they were taking gifts, they were taking bribes, they were taking a lot of things. So there was a need for systematization, and that is what Cornwallis will do. Which is basically he will try to systematize and bring up a system through which the ICS will be formed. So the first thing which he will try to do is he will raise the salaries so that your salary is good enough that you don't need to take a bribe. Second, he will have this rule that no private trading by officers. Further, no civil servant can take bribes or presents. No, this gift nonsense is not going to work. And by seniority, we will have promotions. This is called the covenant service. You would have seen this word. ICS is a covenanted service. Covenant service means that they are bound by rules and regulations of the East India Company under which they can't do something. Their salaries were obviously the money which was looted from India was transferred back to them as salaries. We'll discuss that, which is called drain of wealth. The point is, Cornwallis, for the same reason, is called the father of Indian civil services, or what we call as administrative services in India. Administrative services in India. He is the one who was the first one to do it. But now a very interesting question comes. How can you become an ICS officer? Relevant question. Important question. How much? 500 rupees, 600 rupees, 1000, 1500 rupees used to be the highest. This is a very important question. And between 1757 to 1853, though it should have come between in 1833 itself, it was the nomination by court of directors. So you are appointed by the nomination by court of directors. Now basically, if you know the court of directors, you will be sent to India and you will be given a position of ICS officer. Now this will basically lead to nepotism, and this was the problem which court of directors were going to face very quickly, that this favors a few, and the ICS officers are not based on merit but are based on favors. In 1833, for the first time, they brought in the concept of open competition. But was not enforced. And it is only in 1853 charter that ICS became an open competition based appointment. Open competition means what you have today, that you apply and you get what you want to get. And at this point of time, the examination only happens in London. Only one exam in London. So even if Indian, for example, Subhash Chandra Bose wants to give the examination, Surendranath Banerjee wants to give the examination, they have to go to London to give it. And what is even more interesting is, do you want to know the structure of the ICS examination at that point of time? Yes. Guess how ingenious we are. Prelims, mains, interview. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Only the difference was that the subjects were different. For example, in prelims, you had European history, the classical age, theology, Christianity. Mains, you needed to know Latin language. You needed to write on English literature. You need to write on the romantic literature and era itself. So the paper was based on European system, but the structure was still the same, which we follow today. Exactly the same which we follow today. Now, the first question which I asked you was, how are they appointed? Before 1853 through nomination, after 1853 through open competition. And open competition till 1922 will only, the examination will only happen in London. Later, it will shift to having two places. The first time dual examination happened was in 1924, when one exam happened in Allahabad and the other one happened in London, which we'll talk about when we'll talk about ICS commissions later. But the same point is, do we know how they're appointed? Because then I want to discuss their training aspect. How were they trained? Yes, very good. Now, when it came to training institutions, training, they used to be given training first in London, but in 1806, Wellesley, Wellesley, Wellesley developed a college in India which was called the Fort William College. And this was basically to teach the ICS, train them in India itself. But if you train the ICS officers in India and Wellesley and the Governor Generals have their say over it, would the court of directors like the fact that there is a decentralization of power? That power has moved away from London to Fort William College, which is in Calcutta. So yes, how once you clear it, how do you train for training? Labasana, what happens today? This is the Labasana. So the court of directors, they close this college, saying that it cannot happen in India, and they develop a new college in what we call as London, which is called as the East India College at a place called Haileybury in London. So later, this Wellesley tried to do it in India, but it was called the East India College, Haileybury, London. So this is basically their Labasana, their Masuri. They will train here. But this is a very interesting point that Fort William College was developed in 1806. Wellesley developed this college, but the court of directors disapproved it, and therefore they started their own understanding. Further, Charter of 1833 theoretically made it possible for Indians to give this examination, but they were never implemented. No open competition. They will introduce the system of open competition for the selection of civil servants only by 1853. We'll discuss that when we discuss Charter Act. However, the provisions again negated after opposition from the Court of Directors. This is referring to the 1833 one. This open competition will only come in 1853. Sir, it means that if Britishers don't come India, there is no job like ICS. That is a very good question you're saying. That अगर Britishers आए नहीं होते तो IS कैसे बनते? Very good question. Yes. Yes, the ICS was created by the British, which is now today called the most important covenanted examination in the entire world, which is the IAS. So this IAS system was basic. Every administrative position in India was created by the British only. The whole bureaucracy in that regard, right? So we have discussed now. Tomorrow, in a way, I've discussed what I have to discuss today. Please pay attention. Tomorrow, please don't miss the class. I know that tomorrow you will be distracted for very obvious reasons, but in that distraction, somehow your UPSC dream should not go into thin air and someone else wins it and you lose it. So, tomorrow we will discuss land revenue settlements. We are now entering the economic policy. We will discuss commercialization of agriculture. We will discuss deindustrialization, something as an explanation which you will never find in any other book, and if possible, drain of wealth. Now we are moving into the business area. Out of these four topics, every year or at least every alternative year, there's one mains question, and UPSC is asking prelims questions out of this area quite a lot. Economic policy, very important. Today we have discussed in that regard the consolidation. We discussed the consolidation, and in the process of consolidation we discussed the ICS, the judiciary, and you have promised to read the article on the police. And together the consolidation half part is done. As I go on further, I'll keep on adding and we'll discuss the acts in that regard. And we've also discussed the Sikhs, subsidiary alliance, and doctrine of lapse. Anybody has any issue in this? If not, you can leave the class and meet me tomorrow, same time. Is there anybody has any issue in this? No? Haileybury is not in India. It is in London. It was Fort William College in India, then shifted to Haileybury, London. No issues? So I will see you tomorrow, same time. Thank you so much. And if you have a question, you can feel free to ask me that question also. But now we are now moving into the business end of our discussion. Economic policy, social justice reform, resistance, and the national movement. We are slowly but surely moving towards the most important sectors of this examination. Right? We will discuss Sikhism and Marathas pre that in medieval India. Yes. Okay. Thank you. If you don't have a question, you can leave. Okay. Ketan, what is the full form of B. N. Rao? And that too we will discuss later. What do you mean by the multiple B. N. Raos in the world in history? But was Haileybury shifted to India? Never. Haileybury remained Haileybury. What is your say in Israel-Palestine conflict? No one cares about my say. So we'll discuss that in world history, not to be discussed here, but world history. But what do you want me to say with regards to Israel-Palestine? Good, bad, yes, no? What do you want me to say? In modern, we will study about our leaders. Yes, we will discuss these personalities, but not their backstory. Sir, when will we discuss previous year questions? Once economic history is over, enough previous year questions. I don't know what is the urge for previous year questions, but sure. Please tell what sir came maths background. It is correct to take maths option. Sure. If you can manage the questions which are coming on option level, why not? Sadar Diwani Adalat existed till. Sadar Diwani Adalat comes into existence after 1765, only under the British, not before that. Yes, Ashish, we will discuss that when we will discuss world history. Modern history book for history optional. What is Missile? Missile is nothing but Khalsa groups coming together to create military brotherhoods. So the whole Khalsa now started to become divided into groups which are called missiles. Okay. Yes, Prerna, if you're giving the exam in 2025, start reading current affairs from now. Everything is relevant right now. 2 years is always irrelevant. Can I make notes and write your notes made by you? You can use my notes. I'm writing everything down for you. Don't note them down again. That is a waste of your time. Did Baza Zafar fight in 1857 revolt? Yes, we will discuss that also, but yes. Lakshmi, you can always refer to the answer writing videos which are there in the app. Sure, why not? Every examination, every subject has its own demand, but sure, why not? Please tell when to start answer writing for history. Anytime, you start as quickly as possible, right now. If you are saying my book is too heavy, meaning physically very heavy or mentally very heavy. Sir, get the concept well. Always I forget the dates. If someone randomly asks, you can always write 17th, 18th century. Nidhi, dates are the second thing which basically is important for you. So don't worry about it. Dates, which I will tell you later, are important. If you can learn that, more than enough. PIB is enough? No, no, no. PIB is not enough. You have to go through multiple magazines. Physically, obviously, ancient medieval art and culture, if you'll add into one book, it will become 616 pages. So what do you expect? So too much content in your book. So you want me to omit certain parts of history. Ancient medieval art and culture is one book. If you said that, for example, Nitin Singhani has bulky, I understand that. Only for art and culture, 800 pages. Ancient medieval art and culture, one book, 616 is nothing. Go and buy any other book, it will be 1200 plus pages. Yes, Surbhi, that will be enough. Okay. Neha, I don't have that regards to that. Sir, but after some time I can't understand. Revise. Revise. See, after sometimes I will also forget. After sometimes I also forget and I revise. I revise. So you can't think that you will do it once with me and you will forever understand it. There is a revision, that is what you have to do. Sir, in your book, all parts are combined. Yes, it starts with ancient, with medieval, then modern. Chhatrapati role had no importance in Maratha wars. No, Chhatrapati has nothing. Under Peshwas, Chhatrapati are nothing. What type of understanding ICS? Only basic things which can be asked as a prelims question. How can I learn things for till 2026? Revise multiple times. You should become a uh, more capable person with regards to facts. You should actually have no excuse for nothing. Every topic, every fact, every date, everything should be done systematically within the next 5 to 6, within the next 2 years. You have too much time. Use it effectively. When you joined, started so early, why not? Reading 600 pages instead of reading your notes is enough. Pavitra, you are asking me to say that don't read the book, only read my notes. But it will be equally bulky that way. Spectrum is enough for modern India if you want to refer to modern India. Spectrum, sure, why not? Yes, Nidhi, you can do that. You can relate history with current affairs, sure. Art and culture, current affairs is becoming more relevant. Personalities in the news are the current affairs of history. I know Spectrum has mistakes. That is why I had to write a book for that. Okay. So I'll see you tomorrow. The SM is there to answer any other questions. Thank you and take care.